What is up, Serie A fans? This is another edition of Stoppage Time. You might know this guy I'm going to point it the wrong way, to my left. You got Luca Natale from All Juve Cast, my boy, and we have a great show today. What is up, Luca? How are we doing?
Considering today, I mean, it's only Tuesday. Tuesday is one
Yeah.
of my least favorite days of the week.
Mhm.
But you know what? I'm not here to be negative. We're going to try to be a little positive tonight. I know I told you I'd be a little bit more frustrated today, but I think we just have to keep an open mind, try to keep this show as happy as possible. We don't need to bring all the negativity and the cloud coming from Juventus onto this podcast. So let's keep it good. I'm in a decent mood. I ate. I'm happy. I'm not frustrated anymore. So let's move on.
Yeah, we try to minimize the Juve talk because typically it leads to some not great feelings. So we're gonna keep the Juve talk to a minimum. But yeah, let's get some maintenance out of the way first. This podcast is brought to you by the amazing All Juve Cast, our amazing team that we're part of, as well as Striped Hearts Apparel. And I got my order in. It's been shipped. Waiting on the delivery. I can't wait to rock that gear on the show so Luca can stop bugging me about wearing the gear.
I'm waiting.
And then
Look, you got to send a message to the supervisor, man. You gotta talk to the guy in charge. You gotta tell him, listen, where's the order? I don't know if it's at the border
he's
or
slacking a
that's.
little bit. I've been checking my watch. I'm like, when's it coming?
It's not like you know who does. It's not like you don't know who ships it. You know.
Yeah, I
So do
know.
your homework. Go bust some balls. You know.
Exactly. I'm gonna go bust some balls. Maybe we'll get to my door tomorrow. We'll see.
We'll see.
But we get that expedited shipping. Um, but yeah, so that is what our show is sponsored by. And so yeah, this is a really interesting weekend of Serie A. So many draws. It seemed like the weekend that nobody wanted to win, except for the other teams. One of the matches that we're going to talk about is Sassuolo against Inter. That was a very interesting match. I'm gonna give everybody the rundown. I don't have the ticker. I was a little bit lazy today. I didn't get the ticker with the scores. A little bit busy today. Even the best of us have busy days. So I'm going to read out scores for everybody. We had Friday. We had the game that started all the agita for the weekend. Juventus drawing Torino 1-1. And on Saturday, we had Sampdoria beating Empoli 2-0. We had Roma Verona 2-2. Salernitana drawing Milan 2-2. Fiorentina 1-0 Atalanta. Venezia, Genoa 1-1. Inter Sassuolo winning that 2-0. Udinese Lazio with another draw 1-1. And to end it on Monday, we had Cagliari Napoli with another draw and Bologna beating Spezia 2-1. So before we get into this, what kind of stood out to you, Luca, from this weekend? What was kind of the highlight to you, or what was the lack thereof of a highlight?
I don't think you can really pinpoint just one game this weekend, man. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of the games I wasn't able to watch live, but getting just all the updates on my phone, going on Twitter and seeing, the storm of, drama that ensued from this weekend. It was interesting. I mean, I think
Look at
you have
our
to.
first comment of the day. Bologna will win Serie A.
I have people here in Montreal that'll be very happy about that.
But please
um,
continue. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, look, I think there's nothing you can really pinpoint this weekend. I think it was the biggest dramatic point of the entire week that ensued was basically all the upsets. Whether it was us tying Torino, whether it was Inter losing to Sassuolo, or Salernitana bringing it to Milan. I mean, there's so many games that we can
Mhm.
highlight, and I'm sure we're gonna brush on each one. But I think the most exciting part was seeing who wanted it the least, like who was willing to give up the opportunity to take the lead. It was insane,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah, it was absolutely wild. And if Bologna wins Serie A, honestly, that would be kind of sick. Because I kind of have an affinity towards Bologna squad. They have a low key nice squad. Um, but the thing that kind of stood out to me was, like I said before, that nobody wanted to win the match. Like nobody wanted to win a match. Like Salernitana drawing Milan, you had Inter losing to Sassuolo. Just absolutely insane. Like nobody could buy a win. It was crazy. But without further ado, I really want to get into the first match that really struck me. Obviously, the first one that struck everybody was Torino Juventus. Obviously, it was a derby, 1-1 draw. We don't want to touch on this one too much because we're going to get some agita. We're going to get some of the stomach acids going. So, Luca, give me kind of your short kind of rolling that all into one. What was your thoughts of that?
Wow, it feels like it was almost 3 weeks ago, that derby.
Yeah.
Look, derbies are tough. It's they're the last year or two, especially derbies aren't just handed to Juventus anymore.
Hmm.
The people of Torino know this, and the stadium atmosphere tells you everything. I mean, it wasn't obviously the most crowded event, unfortunately, because I believe if the restrictions were still, I believe they were still in place last Friday. I don't know if they changed since.
I think they were still in place for one more. I
I'm
think
not. I'm not.
75%.
I'm not here to report on that. Either way, the atmosphere was intense from the minute that whistle blew, and the game was tight. So,
Hmm.
do I think Juventus should have came on top? Obviously, I'm a Juventus fan, and I think they were the better team. But does that mean necessarily that they just take the 3 points because they're Juventus? No, Torino showed up to play. Injuries aside, Juventus should have played better. In the end, high intensity, back and forth game, a lot of battles in the midfield, a lot of aggressive tackles given to both sides. Um, Wrap it up nicely in a bow. It's 1-1. I think it deservedly both teams deserved either a draw. No one really deserved the win, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was a match where, like you said, like nobody really deserved the win, because both teams played kind of mediocre. Obviously, as a Juventus fan, I don't want to talk too much about the. Oh, we got Beppe in here giving us a little bit of background on this one. 50% capacity for Juventus, magically 75% from Saturday.
Okay.
Yeah, it tends to work like that sometimes. A little bit odd. Um, but yeah, I mean, the next one I really want to get into, I want to get your thoughts, are Verona against Roma. That was a very, very interesting one. 2-2 draw. What were your initial thoughts on that one?
Oh boy. Um, I mean, it's Verona and Roma. In my opinion, they're both. I've envisioned them very similarly in the table, and prior to any matchups that they have. They're both wild cards in the sense that either could show up and really take on anybody in the table, or either could really just decide to clock out and just lose the game in the first 10 minutes. And I think that was evident because it wasn't a game that ended on the spot. There was, I think it was a 2-0 lead, and then it just returned uh, in terms of a comeback. So you really gotta look at both teams and think, what am I gonna expect today? And that game clearly didn't disappoint because you had a Mourinho red card, you had a Verona team that, although took advantage, didn't hold on to it, and then you had, I think it was youth players, youth players that took it for
Two youth players, Volpato and Bove,
ridiculous,
scoring for Roma. Actually, both subbed on by Mourinho. So, from his perspective, absolute genius putting them on.
right? So I mean, it really is like it's two teams that I've always, especially this season, I'm excited to watch because there are some games, yes, that both look a little bit lackadaisical and they're not the most exciting clubs in the world. But Verona, especially, they've been showing something different this year. And I'm not sure if it's the coach, I'm not sure if it's the players. I could start naming all kinds of factors, but they're exciting to watch. And same goes for Roma in a sense. I mean, there's kind of a new project. Mourinho, as controversial as he is, he's still Mourinho at the end of the day. So it's always fun to watch him. Um,
Yeah,
do I think they're the best clubs in the world? No, like I said, but they're exciting to watch. You never know what you're going to get, and that game showed exactly that.
yeah, absolutely. And this one, it's also interesting to me because I feel like Verona might have one of, I think, the least appreciated attacking forces in Serie A. They have Barak, they have Tameze, who's a very skilled midfielder, actually, who's 27 years old, which I actually thought he was younger. They have a former Manchester City player in Ivan Ilic, who is a center mid, 20 years old, very talented in his own right. And let me read off some of these stats for you. Barak, one of their leading scorers, 10 goals, 4 assists. Giovanni Simeone, 12 goals, 3 assists. Caprari, 9 goals, 7 assists. And that's just their front three, and that's not even including Kevin Lasagna and some other players that they have, Faroni, Zaccagni, who just left for Lazio. So I think the biggest thing for them was when they got rid of Zaccagni was to have players to essentially moneyball, bring in players who can replace his scoring output. And you have that with these players, especially Simeone. He's outperformed like beautifully. His like transfer value is pretty good, pretty high right now. And what say you, Luca, on that attacking force?
Oof. Um, I think it was I think before even Juventus had played them, and people were saying, oh, they were downplaying them, like, oh, it's just Verona, it's Kiev, oh, like nothing really to worry about. It's, I had watched Simeone and I'd watched Barak and I'd seen them link up. I mean,
Hmm.
they're a threat on their own, both of them in their own different ways. But Simeone over the years has always been a wild card up front. He could produce some incredible stuff, but there's some games where he just disappears from the pitch.
Hmm.
Barak is just that consistent, hard-nosed striker where he's there when you need him, and he offers great support to any other striker that he's playing off, whether it be Simeone or even his attacking forward in is it Caprari? Yeah,
Caprari, yeah, he's
yeah,
actually
exactly.
from, I believe he's from Sampdoria, if I'm not mistaken. He's on loan.
He's doing what he's got to do. I mean, they're all linking up in their
Nine
own
goals,
water.
11, 9 goals, 7 assists is better than Dybala, I think.
I've seen, like, I've watched him play enough times, and it's just exciting when they get the ball near the box. There's always something happening, and there's always a threat to look
Yeah.
for. So I mean, I applaud them. They're doing what no one thought they could.
And this is not even to mention one of their best young players, Kevin Rug, who is Swiss. He actually is at FC Lugano right now in Switzerland on loan. So they don't even have arguably one of their best players. And he's only, I think, 22 or 23. So he's still very young and developing. He's really talented going up and down the pitch. He's got good pace, really solid defensively. So he's really a box to box player who can play up and he can also give you good defensive work rate. So they really have some good players who, even if they end up selling, they can make good money back on them and keep developing the squad. And right now, they're a top 10 team. They're, I think, if I'm not mistaken, they're eighth.
They should be top 10 in my opinion. Anyways, they have some. Like I said, I'm not sure if it's the coach that brought something new. I'm not
Tudor,
sure.
former
I
Juve assistant.
I know, and I don't want to spend too much time on that because I mean, a lot of people will start saying, "Oh, he had his chance with Juve and he ended
Yeah,
it badly." And he was like, the guy is clearly able to be a first team manager. Like that was never the issue, and
yeah.
he's brought a lot of energy, and I want to say almost a Conte like aggressiveness to
Okay.
this squad that like there's no messing around. It's his way or the highway. If not, you're on the bench, and you see
Hmm.
it. You really see it.
Yeah, 100%. He's done
So
wonders with this team.
exactly, and it's only been what, a couple months.
A couple
It's
months, and
impressive.
quite frankly, I thought they were going to get relegated this season. I didn't think that they were going to stay up.
I wouldn't have gone that far, but I mean, yeah, you never
Yeah,
know with Verona. They're a squad that won like last year. You didn't think they would make it through, and now here they are, making top 10 competition. It's ridiculous.
yeah. For me, I really thought it was going to be the coaching change was what was going to really cause it because I thought going from Juric to Tudor was going to be such a dramatic change
Yeah.
that the players wouldn't be able to adjust and it would just tank them. But clearly, the player quality is there. Clearly, Tudor has them firing on all cylinders. So it seems to be working. And I want to get your thoughts on this. Do you think it's out of the question that they get a Europe spot?
Oof. I mean, at this point of the season, nothing's out of the question yet. Um, I think it's a big stretch for them because maybe they're not built for that. But I think that's
Yeah.
definitely their goal. But we have to look at what else is out there. I mean, outside the top four, oof, you've got right now.
Roma,
It's like
Lazio,
right now
terrible.
you've got Roma, Lazio, Atalanta, Sassuolo. Shit. I mean, I would have made the argument if the other teams weren't looking as threatening. I would say sure, but I mean, Sassuolo is easily, in my opinion, one of those like those underdogs that no one sees coming. Lazio should definitely be there. Atalanta and Roma have to fight for it. So
The, the thing is with Sassuolo, they beat all the good teams,
that's
but
a
they
great
lose
team.
to all the bad teams. Like the thing is, they don't. If they imagine if they could even half those losses that they got against the worst teams, they won those. They'd probably be in top six right
Well,
now.
see,
They could
that's
win.
that's that's the way I see it. I mean, that's a team, in my
Yeah,
opinion, on paper and as a cohesive unit that should be at least top six, at least. So if they
yeah,
just get their shit together and stop losing to the lower teams, then they definitely have a chance.
yeah, 100%. That's not to mention even that Fiorentina, even without Vlahovic, looked pretty good. And I think the guy who we saw a video of Cabral earlier this week, a very funny video of him staring at a female on stage. That was a pretty funny. That was a funny video. But he's their new striker. Apparently, he's the heir to Vlahovic, and whether that video makes people think twice, it is what it is. But I think Fiorentina have a very, very solid side, and Italiano's got them going really well right now. So, yeah, that was that match in a nutshell. And then at the end, Mourinho gets kicked off. He gets a red. I think he punted the ball or something, and he said something about the ref hoping he has a nice night, and he just got booted.
2-match suspension.
Yeah, and the thing is, what does that do for the team's confidence when the coach gets kicked out?
Look, again, we can spend an hour on Mourinho, just on him. He's a topic on his own. But I think we had this conversation within our group chat like not long ago. The guy, he's loved by the players. I'm not sure what it is, what he does. I've seen behind the scenes. I mean, the documentaries only tell us and show us so much, but
Yeah,
there's something he does. There's a connection he has with the players that obviously they're loyal to him. So, I don't think this will necessarily change anything for their motivation. If anything, they'll make them hungrier. Hopefully.
Also, think about it. We love watching him. He's so entertaining.
Exactly.
Like, this is good for the league. Like, it's good for the papers. It makes everybody happy because everybody gets in on the action.
You sound like a certain account on Twitter that I'm not going to mention. It's good for the league.
I know who you're talking about.
Hey,
This guy.
It's okay. We're not plugging any accounts here.
What'd you say?
We don't plug any accounts on the stoppage time.
Oh, I do. I always do.
Unless what? Oh, you mean individual accounts, or we're talking like?
Well, I give shout outs to other accounts who do good work. So.
Oh, okay.
I'm a nice guy. I'm always trying to spread the love. I'm not like you. I'm not going to be a Debbie Downer, Luca.
Hey, I'm being positive today. Don't start.
I love it. We like positive, Luca. So, on a positive note for us, Sassuolo beat Inter 2-0 and made them look stupid. They got 2 early goals in the first 20 minutes, and then Inter couldn't do anything. When you saw that scoreline, what was your first initial reaction besides screaming?
Best back line in the league. I laugh every time. Every time I watch Inter and I hear their fans yelling, "Oh, we've got the best center backs in the league." Guys, you had one of the best defensive systems in the league. Now something's gone. Something's been given up. Whether it's teams starting to realize that if they pressure Brozovic, you kind of take the middle out of the game, and then you've got a pretty lackadaisical back three when they want, because apparently their mentality is just going a bit down the drain. They were good last season. I'll give them that. This year, something's not clicking. I don't know if it's an overconfidence or maybe it's a change of manager in their system. I don't know. I can't pick on it. I don't watch them enough. But whether it's in Europe or in Serie A or even in the Copa, I haven't been impressed by their defensive line this year. That's for sure.
I think it's really interesting that you bring up overconfidence. And I don't know if it's overconfidence in like thinking, oh, we don't need to defend, we're that good. I think it's more so the overconfidence in their mindset that I'm always seeing Skriniar and Bastoni up the pitch. They're always all the way up. And they're so attacking minded that like De Vrij can't do all the defensive work. Brozovic can't do all this defensive work. Because at one point, teams will figure out, oh, everybody's in the final third. Let's just get one ball, pop it out, and we're on the counter against them. Because Bastoni's playing as a winger. Skriniar is basically a center forward. And all you guys, De Vrij and Brozovic back on defense, or maybe Gagliardini, but that's it.
Well, that's part of the I'm going to say their Achilles heel, in the sense that they're great going forward because their 3-man back is able to be flexible. Like I've seen Bastoni in that box more times than I've seen like Morata in our in our opponent's box. But that ends up being the issue, because if you get countered, that's it. You're stuck with a back line of maybe 2-3 guys, and I think that might be the issue, is that a lot of teams are starting to pick up where their weaknesses are, and it's becoming an old trick now.
Yeah, I think their greatest ability is actually their greatest weakness, like you said, because they're so good at going forward, but then they're extremely exposed out the back because they're pressing too much forward. All their players are too far forward and trying to score too much at a high clip, that if they don't get that first goal and get comfortable in the match, usually it spells trouble for Inter, because then they kind of, when they give up the first goal, they kind of become very, I don't know, it seems tentative in what they're doing. They seem like they're not clicking as much on all cylinders. So, Sassuolo did it the right way. They pounded it down in the middle, and they got those 2 goals from really good shots. Again, we're saying the names of guys like Traore putting in a great ball into the box. You have Scamacca doing great work. Raspadori is always dangerous. It's just, and then another guy who actually Juventus has looked at, and Inter have looked at, Fratesi in the middle. So he's been a very talked about name. So a lot of talking points in this one. Next one of my favorite teams this season that I know Dybala Alexa loves. Fiorentina and her boy Vincenzo Italiano. They won
The
against
bald
Atalanta
wonder.
1-0. What'd you say?
The bald wonder. Just
The
another
bald
bald
wonder. Yeah,
wonder.
he's gonna be Juve's manager in the next 3 seasons.
I'd say 4, but not confidently. I'd say maybe
3 to 5 was my time frame.
I mean, I would have been okay with it, but like seeing how quickly Pirlo was out the door, I don't know. I don't know if I could see it happening anymore. Anyways, enough on that. Yeah, no, that's that. I wouldn't call it an upset, but 1-0. Atalanta. I hate to admit it, but Anthony was right. They're tumbling. I don't know, man. There was a controversial call for a goal that wasn't given their way, but I think you got to give it to Fiorentina. You got to give it to Piontek. I mean, damn, 1-0 against Atalanta. That's a big result for them.
Did you think at the beginning of the season, like when you saw Atalanta, were you thinking, "Oh, this team's gonna be special again"? Because there were people shouting for a Scudetto run, and I wasn't believing that. I thought it was a little bit premature. But I want
They
to get
do
your
good.
thoughts.
That's the thing. You can't look at that team and that system and be like, this team will stink. That's why I give
Yeah,
so much banter to Anthony, because he says they're a terrible team and they're going to crumble. But you look at them and you think, they do smart business. They get players that are unwanted by other teams but have great talent, and then they use it to their
yeah,
potential. They've got a back line that every time they're missing a hole, they plug it perfectly, and somehow it becomes that much better. I think what
yeah,
happened this transfer window was it was a big overhaul. There's been a lot of change, a lot. So I think that's why they're like a lot of their core identity has been picked apart. So maybe that's why they're not doing as well. But I don't know. I feel like it's still a team that could do a lot of damage, and I wouldn't say Scudetto run, but I definitely expected better than what they're doing now.
yeah. Same here. I think in my preseason rankings, I think I had them making the top four. Um, but then I think it was when I did my second half, like my mid-season review, I had them outside the top four. Just because I don't think they're. It seems like they're having the drop off that a lot of people actually did predict that they were going to have. But then I did. Everybody thought I was crazy. I told people Fiorentina are a top six side, and Fiorentina now they've had some off matches where they'll lose to teams like Atalanta. I think beat them once 3-2 or something like that, or they'll lose to teams that you'd expect them to kind of lose against. Then they pull out results like this, 1-0 against Atalanta. Um, they're kind of an enigma because I think they're on the cusp of being this top six team. I wouldn't go as crazy as to say they're top four, but and then right on cue, Anthony, they stink. We have to give credit where credit is due. Fiorentina have been an extremely well coached side, very stable side. I think Nico Gonzalez has been phenomenal this year. Vlahovic, obviously, we know what he's done. Now we got him at Juventus. Um, I don't think Cabral. I think it's obviously a downgrade, but I think in that system, he's not going to look as bad. It's not going to look as much of a downgrade in that system because you already have really good players around him that are going to support him. Whereas you have Vlahovic has Morata, and you have Cabral has Nico Gonzalez, you have Sotil, you have a plethora of good talent around him up front. Not to say Juventus doesn't, but just to make a little bit of an argument there. I think Fiorentina are top six side. And what do you think? Do you think they're top six?
Again, this is like the Verona question. You have to look at
Yeah.
who else is out there fighting for those two top spots under the top
I think
four.
Fiorentina is better than Lazio. I think Fiorentina is better than Roma. I think Fiorentina is on the cusp of being better than Atalanta.
It's a tough call because, like I said, between Lazio, Roma, Sassuolo, these are all teams that, like, if they want, they could beat anybody. But the big question is the if. Do they want it? Do they not
Yeah.
want it? I mean, that can be said about a lot of teams this season, but Roma, Lazio, Sassuolo, even Atalanta, they're all just like on
Hmm.
and off, very much inconsistent, and easily could drop points to anybody. Um, so to say that Fiorentina's in there, shit, I don't know. I wouldn't say no, but I wouldn't necessarily say overall they're better than their team. I mean, I don't know where they're gonna end up in the year, but
Yeah.
they're definitely top eight in my opinion. Where they finish between this, like let's say the 4 and the 8 spot is beyond me.
Yeah, right now they're seventh with 42, right above Roma with one
Yeah,
more point. And they also have a game in hand on both them and Lazio has 43, so they're only 1 point behind them. So I truly think they're better than Lazio. They're better than Roma. They're not better than Atalanta yet, but they're getting there. So I think Fiorentina surprised a lot of people. I'm not surprised. I thought they were going to do very well this season. I think Vlahovic being taken away might have some impact, but I think they've done so well so far. I think they're going off a lot of momentum. Not even to mention somebody we're going to talk about later, Piontek. He's done well since he's been back. I mean, what are your thoughts on him?
oof. Uh, I was glad he came back because I think it was a redemption that he needed. Um, there's a lot of players, there's a lot of fans in this league that I think wanted to see him do well here. So I'm glad he's back. And to see that he's already bagged like 3, 4 goals since his return is incredible. I'm happy for him. I'm happy for Fiorentina. I mean, like you said, the system was already there. You take out Vlahovic, yeah, it's going to hurt them to a certain extent, but you take that money that you just got and you put in two other, you know, average strikers or even uh, let's say up and coming young strikers, and you could start building the same thing. You just need someone who could do the basics the same way Vlahovic did. So
Yeah.
uh, I'm happy for him. He's doing well.
Yeah, exactly. And like I even said before with the Verona topic, it's kind of the same topic. You take out Vlahovic, but you try to bring in players who can obviously they're not I don't think they're gonna get the same amount of goals that he would this season, but you can almost fill up that gap with Piontek and Cabral in terms of the stats. You're hoping Cabral starts hitting once he starts playing. Piontek is already hitting on all cylinders. So you're hoping their total by the end of the season is at least comparable to what you'd want from a top striker or from your number one guy.
Yeah,
So um,
yeah, for sure.
next match, Salernitana drawing Milan 2-2. This one was absolutely wild. There was a worldie in this one. It was Adriozola hit a over the top kick for a goal. Absolutely phenomenal.
They almost took the win. I was disappointed. I really wanted to see that win. Oh man, what a goal! Holy crap! I mean, it's
Better than any
Salerno.
goal in your day?
I mean, I'm not scoring an overhead bike in my day. I was never that. I was never that player, unfortunately.
You
Um,
and me both.
I've done goal line clearances like that, but I've never done a goal like that. Uh, nah. I mean, it was an incredible goal. Props to Milan for coming back in that one, but I don't know. I was really hoping for the upset more so than the draw. Uh, I apologize to the Milan fans out there. I like it's just it's always beautiful to see a team like Salerno really take it to a top four club, and that was impeccable stuff.
Yeah, obviously we're not saying that Salernitana is going to be winning this Scudetto anytime soon, but for a week to week basis, it's exciting to actually see them put up a fight against the top four side because this is one of those results that makes maybe people think twice about skipping a match that has Salernitana's name in it because
Yep.
maybe they think now, oh, they actually drew Milan. That maybe they can actually pull out a result against another team. Maybe they could beat a Genoa. Maybe they could beat a Sampdoria. Maybe they could pull results against other teams and make matches interesting. They pulled an interesting result against Spezia the other day. Did they draw that too, or is that 2-2 or 3-2? Some crazy result like that. Um,
Spezia Salernitana was 2-2.
yeah, so another crazy result. So it's good for the league because it shows that there's a lot of parity in the league. And not everybody's just it's not just a given every match like oh they're gonna get beat. So that's really good to see. Like we were saying before, I can't hit goals like I did. I did. I hit some really nice shots this weekend in pickup. I hit a bar in volley one time, so that was pretty cool. But I'm not hitting any over the top kicks. I'm not doing any bicycle kicks. I'll break my back. I'll be not in a good state after that. Um, but yeah, this was a really interesting match, and there were so many great matches this weekend. Um, were there any other ones that really stuck out to you, Luca?
Uh, I mean, obviously every game's important. I'm not gonna start saying there were any other ones that really blew my top my head off. Lazio tying Udinese was, I mean, not the most exciting result, but I mean that's still necessarily one that needs to be brought up.
Yeah,
Lazio is still in that area around the middle of the table where like we keep talking about a lot tonight between Verona, Sassuolo, Atalanta,
yeah.
Roma. It's all points that they need. So it's unfortunate for Lazio, but I mean, besides that, nothing really blowing top my head off. Sampdoria taking 2-0 to Empoli is nothing shocking, nothing I would freak out about, nothing to
You
really.
mentioned Lazio though. Where do you think the ceiling is for Lazio? Because they've been really up and down this season. They've been a weird team because you'd think when you look at paper, offensively and in the midfield, they look like a solid team. Defensively, they're pretty vulnerable though.
They were my like dark horse for the season. Sadi coming in and the team that they had, I was sure, I was almost certain they were gonna make a top three push. And I think I was only one of
Really?
the I think there was only one or two people that agreed with me this season because I feared Sadi. I feared his ability to come back and bring us a type of fluidity that Lazio needed.
Yeah,
And I've seen it. It hasn't been consistent though.
yeah.
And and to quote the man in the comments with the beard, they stink right now. They really have these games where it's like,
No needs Twitter, baby.
yeah, they've got these games sometimes where they just show up and it's like, okay, this is not Lazio. This is something else. Maybe Pescara showed up. I don't know. It's just something's not working out. And I mean, maybe they got to give them more time. Obviously, Sadi just started, and we know that his system doesn't happen like
Yeah,
that. So I don't know. I'm disappointed, but I'm not mad about it because there's nothing I hate more than the than the fan base for Sadi and then the fan base for Lazio doesn't help
yeah,
either. So both together, it's
yeah.
I'm gonna save the communist comments for our friend Lou. You bring them up next week, but yeah, no, I'm
So
disappointed.
yeah, when you look at that team, what do you think the main problem is? Do you think it's system? Do you think it's lack of quality? Because when you look at that midfield, you think, oh man, at the beginning of the season, Sadi's going to have a field day with Milinkovic, Savic, Luis Alberto. I mean, that's all I can think of off the top of my head. I think Cataldi, you have Lucas Leiva. Like, these aren't slouch midfielders. These are solid midfielders.
I don't know if I would pick on the midfield to be the problem or the solution. Uh,
What's up, Rob?
I don't know. I've watched them play. I don't watch them enough to start saying what the focal point is or what their
Yeah,
weakness is, but he is getting the best of Milinkovic Savic. We've seen time and time again this season where he is like he's like the only thing they can really rely on between him and a goal here and there from whether it's Immobile or Lazzari. Like it's been impressive to see what Sadi's gotten from some players. What I think is disappointing, and we could go back in past seasons Sadi has coached, is his inability to get the best from other players. So
yeah,
he can make two or three look fantastic, but he also makes four or five look like absolute garbage when they're not. So, example, Luis Alberto is not seeing the best time this season. I think it's very clear that he's a talented player and they should be getting a lot more from him, but we're not seeing it. Why is that? That's because Sadi's stubborn. I don't want to go too much into it, but that's just what Sadi does. So I think it's going to become a question of what can they do to get the best out of the majority rather than getting the best out of certain few.
yeah. And my last question on Lazio is Milinkovic Savic the best center mid in Serie A?
It's tough to say that one. I think he's certainly one of the best. He's going to be the first one people bring up. He's
Yeah.
certainly notable.
Mhm.
The problem is that he plays in a role and he plays it in a way that no other real center mid plays it. Like he'll be in the
Yeah.
box one minute, going to be defending in front of defenders the next. You
I think
know,
that's what makes him so great is he could do everything.
right?
Like
So I'll give
what?
him the benefit
Yeah,
of being able to do a lot.
yeah,
100%. Is he the best? I think Sadi's getting the best of him as opposed to, let's say, other coaches getting the best of others. Because, I mean, again, it really depends on what you classify as a center mid,
yeah.
because just that is a conversation by itself. And we always have that argument in the chat. But
Yep.
no, I think he's certainly the most notable one. I think this season, Sadi's getting the best of him. Is that to say he's the best overall, talent wise? I don't know. It's a bit of a stretch, I think.
Yeah. For me, it's just I think he's the best from what I've seen from overall. I think he has some of the best versatility, and there's something that just one moment I remember 2 seasons ago, he went for a through ball like towards the back, outside of the box, back outside corner near the offsides or not offsides, the end line of the pitch, and he sticks his toe out and perfectly right off the end of his toe controls it and brings his down over his head and controls it, and then he brings it back. They end up scoring. I'm like, that might have been one of the most beautiful touches I've ever seen any player do. His control for a 6'5" midfielder. I mean, the only time I have seen a player with that type of control at that size recently was Pogba. And he's not as flashy as Pogba, but his technique is impeccable. But we won't talk about Pogba because people are going to get triggered when I mention Pogba.
Yeah.
So
Wrong
we'll get
league,
into
wrong team, wrong everything.
yeah, exactly. So that was kind of the recap of the weekend, and then I want to get to my favorite segment. This is everybody's favorite segment of the show. This is what people come to pay the big bucks for: to see buy or sell. Number one, we got the man who scored today in the Villarreal Juventus match, which we'll touch on in a little bit. Vlahovic, Dusan Vlahovic, is pretty. This is a toss-up for you. This is an easy one. This is a what's it called? This is an easy fastball down the middle. Vlahovic, buy or sell?
Thumbs up. It's a big buy, obviously.
What else needs to be said? Right?
Yeah, there's not much to be really said here. There's a reason over 70 million was spent on him. There's a reason he leads the line almost every game now for Juventus. There's a reason there's so much talk about him, not only in the European stage, but especially in Serie A. So, I mean, I wouldn't want to sell him. You'd be wrong to think otherwise.
Yeah, 100%. Rob saying, I think he's talking about Milinkovic-Savic. His first touch is lovely. Absolutely true. And I mean, even if that's about Vlahovic, that's also true. Both of them have phenomenal touches. And some people may, oh yeah, he's saying buy as well. Absolutely. And it's 100%. And I think some people, I think the only thing that people are like taking away from Vlahovic from his game, even his Fiorentina days, and I think this is just holding him to such a high standard. People are saying, he lacks some pace. But in my mind, if people are saying that, the only reason they're saying that is because they're comparing him to the likes of guys like Mbappe, who's not really a true striker, and Haaland, who's a freak of nature. I think at his peak, Vlahovic will be a good pace striker, not a guy who's going to burn by people, but a guy who's got good speed and can at times surprise people with his speed. So that's what I think. What do you think on that take that he's not fast?
I think the modern game is too cluttered with the idea of speed is everything. Yes, speed is very important. I mean, the overall, burst of agility is just as important, in my opinion. But where Vlahovic really, similar to Haaland, takes the cake is not only his form, like the size of him, just the pure strength that he has in his muscles, but also the length and the stride of his legs. One good leap for him is the equivalent of a few for like a normal person. So I think speed should not be really an issue for a guy like that. It's not like he's taking many one-on-ones. He's doing, especially in the system he's in, he's not doing much sprinting at the players or against the player. He's not a winger. Doesn't have to beat his man in the wing. So I don't really think that's the worry. A lot of what he needs to worry about is getting the control down, getting the ball away from his feet, and letting it rip as fast as possible on the net, which he's been doing perfectly fine. So again, maybe not the fastest, but that's just people picking on minor details that aren't important to his game.
Yeah, and Rob said such an important part of his game is high composure for a young guy, and that's so true. Sometimes you see that lacking in young strikers. And his also, we saw today's hold up. Like, you don't need to be super pacey if you have phenomenal hold up play and you're great when you turn the goal and shoot. We saw today he took one touch and fired it, no look essentially to the back corner. And then we even saw against Verona, he was one-on-one. He was doing a little bit of a slow steps towards the defender, and then spins basically goes around him, goes by him and scores. Like, I mean, he's not pacey, but he's deceptive though. You don't expect a guy his size to move the way he does.
Well, that's it. So you have to realize he is young, he is rather large, and he is in incredible form. So whether his straight line speed is slow or not, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to his game. Okay, sure. Like there will be parts where he's going to take a man one-on-one, maybe to the corner or something, and he can't beat him just pace for pace. But that doesn't matter in his game. That doesn't matter in the way Allegri plays. And I think if he's smart enough, and obviously we've seen that he knows how to use his size,
Mhm.
he knows how to use his agility to his own strengths, he's going to be effective no matter what. And comparing him to the likes of other young stars is unfair because it's different positions. You want to make a
Yeah,
good comparison? Look at Lewandowski's perfect
that's a great
size
comparison.
to like ratio is exactly the same. A little bit thinner on the I think Lewandowski. I'll give him a little bit thinner in terms of overall bulk, but the
Yeah,
way he plays is exactly the same.
yeah.
Very similar. So
And nobody ever complains about his speed, Lewandowski, because he's just such a well-rounded striker.
but that's it. You just gotta make sure he gets the ball at the right spot, and then if that doesn't happen, he'll make something happen himself. So
Yeah,
I'm not overly worried.
yeah, 100%. My last point on that is you can even look at the match day against Villarreal, which we'll talk about. Even the balls that he didn't get to, when you see the balls that are being put over the top on through balls, when you see him in full stride, and we're not even seeing him live, we're just seeing him on TV. He looks like a deer running. He's like sprinting. He's taking these huge long strides. It's phenomenal how fast he is when he's in open field. So I have no problem with that. It's a great answer, and I think the next one we're going to go on to it's a team, Verona. Buy or sell Verona as a team.
Hmm. I'm a big fan of Verona. I'll take them. I'll take them simply because there's not much to really be negative about. It's not like an expensive
Mhm.
team, and I think the upside is bigger than the downside. There's a lot of potential, as we've seen. You get the right coach in with the right system and mentality. You got yourself a pretty solid, mid-table team. So I'll give a thumbs up on that one too.
100% agree. And I'm not even just saying that because I have a recording this weekend with a Verona fan.
No,
Shameless plug
it's
on
not
that. We're
because of
gonna
that,
have.
guys. Clearly
What
not
you
because
say?
of that. It's not. That's
Definitely,
not the reason. Yeah, sure.
definitely not. But yeah, honestly, I do think Verona's a buy for me. I think they're, like I said, I think they're contesting for a Europe spot for that last seventh spot in the Conference League, and for them it'd be a huge deal. A little bit extra money for them to help them spend. It'd be great. Next player, Piontek, buy or sell?
I already spoke highly of him, so I mean, I'm just gonna feed off what I said before. Definitely would buy him. Very cheap. He's on loan right now. I think wasn't not sure if it was a straight dry loan or there's an option to buy there, but he's got a lot to prove. He's a hungry, just typical nine. Uh, he fits the Fiorentina system well right now. Italiano knows what he's looking for, and Piontek was able to. Well, he's so far been able to prove that, and I think for someone who's been in the league, who was in the league for so long, it's pure comfort for him. It's like riding a bike. So I think that his ceiling is still a little bit high. He still has a lot to offer. That's that Fiorentina team. I only see wins there. He's not the guy to lead your line for 90 minutes, but he'll definitely be the guy if you need him for 60 or for as a sub, he'll be there and he'll bag a goal or two every once in a while, that's for sure.
Yeah, he's young too, right? Isn't he like 24, 25?
Oh, he's not that young, but
Oh,
he
he's
hasn't hit 30 yet, that's for sure. He's not
okay. Got you.
I'm not exactly sure. You can't quote me on that. Hold on.
Got
I'll
you.
find
Let's see.
out.
We got
Keep
the
talking. I'll
stat
find out.
guy. We got stat man. Stat man over here.
I wouldn't call me that, but sure. I've got the stats here somewhere.
I was gonna see if you noticed
Oh, I
me saying
noticed.
stat man.
Oh, I noticed. I'm just not sure where you were going with it.
I don't know. I kind of pulled that out of my
It's
rear end.
Piontek. He is 26.
26. So yeah, still definitely a lot to achieve. I'm also gonna go with the buy, especially because we've seen his form as of recent. 4 goals already. He's done well. So I'm gonna go buy. Next one's a little bit of an enigma because he scored against us, but he's been out for a while. Andrea Bellotti, buy or sell?
That's a fun topic.
You're
Belotti,
from Canada. You're from Canada, and there was talks about him going to Toronto FC. So
yeah, I'm from Montreal, so I'm going to Toronto FC has absolutely nothing to do with me. And I absolutely have absolutely no positive ratings for the MLS. I don't care how much people here talk about
okay,
it. And
okay.
though you don't want my opinion on it. Belotti, at the beginning of the season, when we were still looking for a striker, I had tossed up the idea of Juventus going for him on a free many
Yep.
times, whether it was on the podcast, whether it was in the group chat, whether it was just on Twitter. Obviously, I think my opinion has changed clearly because we actually got a proper striker.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think Belotti offers something that a lot of clubs are missing, and why no one has picked him up yet is beyond me. I've seen him fight and fight countless times for that Torino team. As I
Yeah.
mean, For the Azzurri, we've seen it. He's not perfect, but man, does that guy fight?
You can never question his work rate.
No,
Never.
but that's it. So I think it's a question of finding him the right team where they need a fighter like that. I always thought
Yeah.
whether it was a Milan side, or even a Roma team,
I
someone
think
they
Milan
take
would love him. I
right,
think if they'd done it a few seasons ago, it would have been perfect because then they wouldn't have had to go after a Zlatan or a Giroud. They would have had a guy
right.
for the next few
Well,
years.
now with Zlatan probably out the door and Giroud slowly getting there, you got to start
Yeah.
asking the questions, right? And
Olivier
it,
Giroud.
oh, jeez, too much emphasis. You got to start asking the question of who's going to take their spot. And
Yeah.
I mean, good business is good business. The guy's coming on
Yeah.
a free.
Yeah, he's free and he's 29 still, right? He hasn't hit 30 yet.
Again, let me check, but he's not at a point where you're going to be paying him a whole lot, and he's not
Yeah. You
he's
have him
not
for
going to
three or
pass
four
out from a heart attack.
seasons. You have him for three or
Belotti
four seasons. You
is
don't have to worry about him.
28.
He's 28, so you have a solid 3 or 4 good seasons of him.
We still got a lot of time. I think, for the right team and the right system and the right coach, I'll buy him. Right now at Torino, unfortunately, he's not being used to his absolute most. Yes, Juric is getting what he can out of him, but I still think that team's been holding him down for way too long. I think he was
Yeah.
due to move maybe 2 seasons ago. So, uh, for me, it depends on the situation. Overall, I think he's a buy, but what he's doing now, if he continues this way, I think it's a sell.
Yeah, I know I said all those good things about him, but I'm going to sell him. I think
Okay,
it's
well,
I only because I agree with Rob's comment. He said lost some of his shine. I think
yeah,
this this move, if it happens this summer to like a better team than Torino, with all due respect to Torino, I think it comes 2 seasons too late,
yeah.
and he might salvage some of his career. But I think I sell it just because
He's still
I
late.
think
It's 2 seasons too late. Like you said, he missed his chance.
exactly,
He
and
was
it sucks
worth.
for me to see that because if it wasn't for I think Cairo who wanted to sell him for like 100 million at one
Yeah,
point,
yeah,
he would have
exactly.
gone because
He was.
he's not $100 million striker even at his best.
There was a point where he was in incredible form, and there were, like you said, there were numbers like beyond
Yeah,
the realm of
yeah,
sanity being mentioned. And I think I was freaking out, but like I think it was exactly 2 years ago. He was in brutal form, and it was like someone has to pick him up. It has to
yeah,
happen, and they just didn't let him go.
yeah.
Very simple. It's very similar to the Milinkovic Savage situation, but one is at a mid-table club and one is not. So that's, I think, the big difference here.
Yeah, absolutely crazy. Because at that point in time, they were saying 100 million, but in my mind, he was probably more at a peak of 60, 65 mil at his
Yeah,
peak.
that makes
Um,
sense.
so next one, we'll go on to Fabio Quagliarella. What are you thinking? Buy or sell him?
This season, he's been a wild card. I feel like a lot of people have been looking down on him the last 2 years, ever since he left Inter. Uh, he was
Wait,
at
he was at
Inter, was it?
Inter?
Was he? Quagliarella, Quagliarella.
No,
Yeah,
he was at
no,
Wait, was he at Inter?
pretty sure he was 2, 3 years
I thought
ago.
he was at I'm forgetting. Let me
Oh
fact check it.
no, 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 no,
You
no,
keep
no, no,
going.
no,
I'll
no,
fact check it.
no, no, no. I'm thinking. So why am I? Oh wow, what is with my memory right now? Fabio Quagliarella as a striker was never at Inter. What am I saying? Sorry.
He was a Napoli player,
He
but
was
that was a
Napoli.
while
Yes,
back.
yes, that was before Juventus. My bad. Everybody who just heard that, ignore it. It is late. A la
Ignore him.
leche.
He doesn't know. He doesn't know Calcio. He doesn't know
No,
what the hell
I'm
he's
getting
talking
mixed up
about.
between somebody else completely on the team at Sampdoria right now. He's
Yeah,
still at
it's all
Samp,
good.
right?
I'm
Quagliarella is
pulling
still
it
at
up
Samp.
right now. So
Okay.
he was at before this season. He was at Torino.
Okay.
Oh no.
No, no.
Wait.
I think I'm getting mixed up with Candreva. That's probably what it is.
Yeah, I don't know where that. It says the last team he was at was Torino. I think he's been at Sampdoria for a bit now, but he was
It's
at
me.
Torino in
It's me.
15,
It's
16.
I got mixed up with probably Candreva. That's what I'm thinking. Anyways,
Yeah.
Quagliarella. Damn. I don't know what to say. He's getting old. That's the problem. He's still a bomber. He's still the
What's wrong with
bomber.
getting old, Luca?
I don't know. Ask Anthony. He'll tell you. He complains every goddamn day. It must hurt. It must stink having to put ice on your knees every night.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't know. I always loved him. I still do. I have a soft spot for him just because of the way he plays, the style of character he is.
Yeah.
It's just he's the epitome of old school mentality, in my opinion, for a lot of things. And I was happy he got a call up to the Azzurri not long ago, and I think he bagged the goal in was it a friendly? I'm not sure. He got called up because he was in good form last season, and I
Yeah.
was happy to see it. But right now, he's getting old. He's not doing what he used to do. I'd sell him, unfortunately. As much as I love him, I have a soft spot for him. It ain't it.
We don't agree a ton, but I agree with you. He's basically done. This is kind of his final hurrah. But I will tell you, I think it was either last season or the season before. People were calling for him to play for the Azzurri because he was playing so much better than Cheeto and Belotti. They're
Yeah,
like, why don't
yeah.
we put Caputo and
Him and
Quagliarella in there?
Caputo were
Because
doing better, and they both got call ups. I remember.
yeah, and they deservedly so. They were playing very well.
Yeah.
And you do whatever works. Like we just saw Balotelli, uh, Balotelli get
It
a
was
shout.
just a training camp. Let's not get overly
Yeah,
excited.
exactly. So sadly, I'm going to sell. We got Robin here saying we'll be sad when he retires. He's a champ.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's gone
exactly.
through a lot in his career, so I hope for the best with him even after retirement. But last player we got is I forget how to say his first name, but last name is Barak, striker for Verona. Antonio, I
Musso
think it's
Barak.
Antonio Barak.
And, but,
Antonin, maybe Antonin Barak.
you know what? We've got the stats. Might as well rely on them today.
Yeah, exactly.
Antonin Barak. Oh boy.
Antonin Barak. See, I was second chance. I was right.
I
So
respect this man for the selection of footwear that he wears. Just
what
for
does he
that,
wear?
he wears pantofola doros, and just for that selection, he's one of the only players in the top flight of Italy still wearing that brand because they have gone to shits. It's still a lovely brand in terms of the culture, but the product is not the greatest. Anyways, I respect him because he wears all white, and it is super classy, and it represents the way he plays, very simplistic in its nature. So, uh, I love him. I absolutely love him. No problems with the player.
Yeah, I can't wear all white cleats because I'll get them destroyed in like 2 seconds. So as
That's you
much,
and me, but that's it. So,
yeah, exactly. I love white
the
cleats though
props to the
so
guys who
much.
can. Like if I could, I would, but
Yeah, because he can
no,
spend $300 on cleats and or €300 on cleats, and then next week buy another pair if they get all
that's it.
ripped up. So
That's it.
nice life, man. But
Hmm.
that does it for buy or sell. Last thing I want to get into, obviously, I want to touch briefly on Villarreal against Juventus in the UCL. A lot of things happened. So, 1-1 draw, early goal from Vlahovic on basically a blindside run. He takes one touch, turns, and fires it back left corner to score in the 36th second, um, and gets us the early goal. But then it just kind of we had some opportunities, but we Juventus just couldn't score again. And then Villarreal came back. I'm forgetting how they scored off the top of my head. Oh, it was. Can you remind me how did they score? I already forgot. It's only been a few hours.
The goal today.
Yeah.
Uh, Bad man marking from the mid to the defense,
Oh yeah, and then
and a
what's his
nice
face?
perfect
Perejo is
lobbed
wide open.
ship right over the line.
Yeah.
Nice
Sandro
one.
or no Rabiot. Rabiot's fault as per usual.
It was a nice finish. I'll give him that. It's not an easy finish to put in the back of the net
Oh
one
yeah.
time. So I'll give him that. It was a nice finish.
Good run too. I mean,
I
he
know,
was in the perfect
beautiful.
spot. But the
Picked
problem
out.
is the guy should never be that wide open
Yep.
ever on a
Yep.
professional pitch. Like
Yep.
that's you have two guys. I blame more Rabiot because that was his man. Delit was there, but he was too late after the fact. So that was Rabiot's responsibility. So and the Frenchman also got away with a lot. What some people had said could have been a red card. I have to replay it because I saw some of it, and my first reaction was yellow. But I have to watch the replay because a lot of people were calling for red. What do you think on that call?
On the initial play, I'm like, it's not even a foul. Like I was like, how is that a card
Yeah,
to
when you
start
first
with?
saw it, that's what I thought
Right.
too.
Then I saw a slow motion and I saw what he was trying to do. He was trying to like step over and go to his right foot,
Yeah,
as opposed and like do a fake, but his left foot when he went up caught the player like at shin height, and it was
yeah,
really bad in the slow motion. So
yeah.
it looked pretty brutal. And honestly, I know why they reacted so badly, but I don't think the intention was bad. Maybe that's why the ref let it
That's
go.
the only thing. That's what I was telling people. I think the intention is what came into the effect of
Yeah,
the
it's not
ref
like
for
he
not calling
went
it.
throwing his body in. No, he tried to just like win the ball. I don't know. I'm not gonna look. I hate that I'm defending him, but
Yeah,
like if that was me, and it happens sometimes. You're at the end of the game. You're a bit tired. You're thinking. You're almost on an automatic. You're making these moves without even thinking ahead. It
yeah,
happens. You clip a guy, you feel bad. But like in this case, I don't think he deserved the red. I think that would have been a little bit too harsh. But the yellow is definitely warranted. I saw
yeah,
definitely warranted.
yeah. After looking back at it, I'm like, it's definitely a high cleat. From what I did see, it looked like Haikley, and I have to rewatch it again to really get a whole picture. But I think a yellow. I think now, looking back, a yellow was very much warranted, and he might have gotten a little bit lucky not getting a red. We could have used him getting a red because then we don't have to worry about him playing in the next match. But that's that's aside the point. But then obviously the news that nobody wanted to hear was Weston McKennie now has a broken fractured ankle or fractured foot.
It was his foot. I saw. I don't remind me of the names. I saw metatarsal in there somewhere, but it didn't sound very
Yeah.
nice. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, he's out for at least 8 to 12 weeks. And for me and you, it sucks because we've been praising this guy all season. People were dogging him since the beginning. We said, "Don't worry, this guy has the qualities to be a solid player for this team," and he had been up until this point. And he was actually making a great run when he got tackled from behind. And to be honest, I thought that should have been a yellow when I saw that tackle.
I was mad because it was a crappy tackle. The way he lunged and threw himself, it was very much a.
It's very lazy tackle.
I was lazy because he was fresh legs and he just threw himself because he knew he'd get there, but he wasn't. It was a dangerous tackle, but still he got the ball first. So you could say what you want about the sloppiness, the dangerousness, whatever it is. He still got the ball. So in the end, as a
Yeah,
defender, he did his job. Was it the pretty way to do it? No. I can't be mad at him, but I would be frustrated if I was on the opposing side because at that point, it's unnecessary to make that aggressive of a tackle. But I mean,
yeah.
hey, I'm just saying that because I love Weston and I feel bad. So could be
Yeah,
me.
100%. And this will probably be the end of his season. Very likely. Maybe he'll make a cameo near the end, but obviously I don't want him to rush it. And you got Rob saying McKinney's injury is so unfortunate. He looked good, and he really did. He has looked good, and he's been really key to this team. With our gaffer, all Juve cast saying he
Second and third
agrees it's brutal
metatarsal.
for us.
Yeah.
A few other comments. Interesting to see if Max keeps the mids in the middle now. I mean, we'll touch on this briefly, and then he also says it's the second and third metatarsal, which I'm not a doctor, so I don't really know where that is, but it doesn't sound good. So with the midfielders, would you rather them play a 2 or a 3 now? Because they're a lot more. I think they're more thin than they were. I think they were experimenting between a 3 and a 2, but I think now you're kind of forced to do a 2-man midfield because you don't have the depth to run a 3-man midfield.
We've got now with Weston out 4, 1, 2, 3, 4.
You have Arturo, Rabiot, Zakaria, and
Locatelli.
Loca, and that's it.
We got 4 first team natural midfielders.
So you're kind of forced to do 2 because if you do 3, God forbid one more person gets out, then you're done.
It frustrates me because I know Max is still gonna keep doing that silly hybrid.
Yeah, 'cause he's a psychopath.
situation. Look, I never initiated, I never pushed, I never agreed with the 2 pivot because I didn't think we could do it. I think we had enough mids and not enough forwards, so it was almost necessary to do the 4-3-3. But with this situation now, I feel like you're almost tied down to doing the 2. But
Yeah.
you gotta substitute with a proper winger who could do the hybrid. So if Bernardeschi's not somewhat healthy or unable to do that hybrid role, you're almost stuck doing a 2-man. You have almost no choice.
Rabiot winger, baby. Rabiot left wing.
The worst part is we know that's what's going to happen. And
Yeah, it's pure terrorism. That's what he's going to do.
Yeah.
He honestly might run a 4-4-2.
it wouldn't surprise me.
He might need to revert to a 4-4-2 because, I mean, you look at the top, even when Dybala is healthy, you either go Vlahovic, Morata, or you go Dybala, Vlahovic as your 2 strikers, and then winger Cuadrado, left, probably Rabiot or Bernardeschi, because now you don't have the option of Kulusevski. And I think Juve, at some point this summer, need to go for a left winger. Just to have one.
It's certain. The lack of wingers in this team is shocking right now. I mean,
Yeah.
you look at your first team and you think, okay, Bernardeschi is somewhat of a winger. Cuadrado is a winger. That's it. That's it.
I mean, we had Chiesa, but
I'm gonna hear Raf come in the comments and tell me Ake and Sule should be in that. I'm sorry, they're not first team. They're the U23s. You might get promoted now, but I mean, I'm looking at the first team basis here. We sold all our wingers. We have 4 strikers. Something has to be done now, and I think Max handcuffed himself with all these strikers and these forwards. So now he's got to use it in the sense where how can I get the best out of all four of them? You can't have
Yeah.
Keane and Kayo on the bench for every game when they're registered as first team forwards. They got to play them. We got to use them somehow. So I think management right now, not only is it poor, but we're getting
Yeah.
screwed right up the hoo ha because we got
Yep.
two of our best forward threats out long term, which is
Yep.
ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're definitely forced, I think, in my opinion, to do the 4-2-3-1 at this point and do that trident up top when Dybala is healthy of him, Morata, and then actually I don't think you could even do that because you don't have unless you do Cuadrado on the right and then you put Dybala right behind Vlahovic and then you put Morata on the left.
It's crazy because now
And you
it's
could put
such
Kane
a
at the winger, but the thing, you know what amazes me though? We've had such bad luck this season, and nobody can tell me that Juve haven't had an unlucky season. They've had an extremely unlucky season. They're still top four, even amid all that. So even in not a perfect, imagine in a perfect world, if everything is all good, you think this team is Scudetto contenders if everybody's healthy?
if everybody's healthy, this team is easily Scudetto contenders. You're bringing back not only Chiesa, but you're bringing well, you're not bringing back just McKennie. You're bringing back
Rovella have.
well, that's not an injury based question.
I know, but still,
It's crazy to think how this team wouldn't be at least top two without
yeah,
with the likes of Chiesa back in the squad. I mean, sure, was Max getting the best of him? Probably not. And I was the first one to say it many times on the podcast. I'm mad that he's hurt, but was it really a difference maker because he wasn't really performing that well beforehand?
yeah,
That's on Max. But to have a player like him in your 11, whether he's not performing to his best doesn't matter. He's still one of the most effective wingers in Europe right now. So
yeah.
yeah, I think we're gonna have to see either Keane or Caio on the wing because
Yeah.
we've got two first team players who aren't getting any minutes, and that is just ineffective, inefficient, and
Mhm.
downright silly.
That'll be the last question that I ask Rob, saying Keen on the wing. If you play this, if everybody is, if say even Dybala is back, Bernardeschi's back, does Keen start as a winger in this team at any point in any game?
I don't know. That's a tough question. I don't know.
Because I think it's Cuadrado and Bernardeschi before him, but
It
maybe he
should
is a
be, but
sub.
like it really depends on whether Cuadrado's playing defense and if Bernardeschi's even fit. Because right now, those are the two big questions with those two.
Yeah, and then Rob saying Allegri is only playing for draws, and I've seen that. I feel like in the Torino game he was playing for draws, so it's unfortunate. I think Italiano is. I think personally, I think Allegri is the stabilizer of this team to stabilize this team, get them back on their feet, get them back to certain aspirations, and then they're basically gonna allow Italiano to keep up with his progressions with Fiorentina. And I think within 3 to 5 seasons, we see Italiano as a Juventus manager. But on that crazy note, what a great show we had, Luca. I hope you had a fun time, man. I think this is pretty good. We didn't get too angry. I think we stayed pretty composed.
I promised I'd do my best, and I think I did a pretty good job. I didn't yell. I didn't cuss too much. Not too much
Yeah.
swearing tonight, so we're good.
I think you were pretty gentlemanlike. I appreciate it. We got kids, we got the gaffers' children watching, so we
Yeah,
want to
it's true.
keep it pretty
We got
clean.
us kids always on.
Yeah, they always support. It's amazing. But yeah, thank you everybody for hopping on. Want to remind you guys, go follow all UV cast. Go follow my boy Luca Natale. Go follow myself, Cliff Esmiel, as we always break down everything on all UV cast, all UV all the time. Go get some Striped Hearts apparel because man, I'm really excited. I'm hyped. So much great gear. You got those shirts with like the comic book designs with
Yeah.
today's a goal, and then you have Buffon. Oh, it's absolutely beautiful. And then lastly, if you guys can like and subscribe to the channel and share any way you can. We're still growing. We have some really amazing guests lined up. I have an amazing interview with a Verona fan this weekend that we're going to record, and then we're going to send that out to have people watch it. So if you guys can support it, it'd be amazing. Thank you, Rob, and thank you everyone again for hopping on. Hope you guys all have a great night. Ciao a tutti.